Good morning, my beauties, my mystery friends. Welcome to my channel. My name is Jessie. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. If you like what you see in here, please like and subscribe to this channel so you guys get new updates. So this is my very first video. I tried doing one before, but since I'm new to this, it is more difficult than I thought. So anyways, let's get started. Our first video today is about a girl named Erin. And so she comes from a family, they're pretty religious. They go to church, they are very involved in their church. She was up there singing in the choir, and when she sang so beautifully. And to the point where she would make others cry, and she would be crying herself as she was singing. She's 17 years old, bright future ahead of her, so many dreams, until she finds a boyfriend. Now, this boyfriend is 18 years old. She's been running around the crowd from 18 to 20 years old, right? Okay, so she's like, oh, you know how it is with teenagers. They're still head over heels, in love, whatever. Well, she gets closer to this guy named Charlie, okay? Now, hopefully I don't lose you guys because there's going to be another Charlie. So hopefully I don't get you guys lost here. But she gets to know Charlie, and they're talking on the phone all the time and seeing each other. Her parents have rules that she had to, get off the phone at a certain time and stuff like that, like most of us did. And, nowadays it's like, okay, you hardly hear that. But this was back, I believe, in 98. So, she had rules, and she was such a good girl, and she obeyed those rules and everything like that. So, well, her parents invited this boyfriend of hers over for dinner, because might as well, if you guys are going to be hanging out, might as well be where I can see you, So, very first introduction, her father goes to say that I've watched a lot of interviews, and this poor guy, he would say that the very first time that he met Charlie was he got home from work, and Charlie was already in the house. The mom was home cooking, and they were out in the living room, Erin and her boyfriend. And her boyfriend was in the dad's recliner. And, so the guy's like, okay, that's fine, you're sitting in my chair, but no big deal. But he had to go over there and introduce himself. And he's like, you must be Charlie. And Charlie goes, yeah, and you are? With attitude. So right off the bat, the dad was like, I get a bad vibe from you, bad attitude, but whatever. He goes to the kitchen, he talks to the mom, the husband tells his wife, and his wife is like, this is just a dad thing, you're being overprotective, you're just trying to find any little thing, to bug you, that bugs you. And he's like, okay, maybe that you have some truth to that, but the way he I had to introduce myself, and he's in my home, in my chair, I don't think so. But anyways, they had dinner, everything went great. That they had a rule that he had to leave by 9 p.m. I don't know about y'all, but when I brought anybody over, they had to be home at 5 o'clock. Ain't no 9 o'clock. So she was lucky. But anyways, and then after he would leave, they could be on the phone for as long as they wanted. On the weekends longer, obviously. During the week, she had school. So they were, laying down the ground rules. They wanted her to finish school. She's 17. She's almost 18. She's almost finished. Okay. So, well, Charlie, the boyfriend, would come over for dinner quite often, actually. Then they started to notice a change in Charlie's attitude. Mainly very not protective, bossy and overbearing with the daughter, Erin. But Erin thought it was nonchalant. She was already used to it, but they were like, no, you don't talk to my daughter like that. They started to notice that Erin, the daughter, was having a change in her attitude as well. And she would get very angry when the parents would lay down the rules that she was already accustomed to. She already knew all this. Why are you acting like it's new information? So, they just started, having issues with that. But what really did it was when her schoolwork and her grades were going down. When they noticed a change in her schoolwork and in school, basically, they sat her down and they said, hey, we think you two need a break, because at least until your schoolwork gets better, your grades get better, and she, at this moment when her parents sat her down, was like, oh, thank you, Mom and Dad. Thank you. I've been looking for an excuse to break it off with him, and stuff like that. And the parents were like, whew, that was a lot easier than we thought it was going to be, right? Well, they started hearing, and other people started hearing. And then later on, we come to find out that she was telling all her friends at school and everyone she was hanging out with that, her parents are unbearable and that they beat her and all this stuff, and that she just wanted to off her parents and all this stuff. But at this time when she supposedly broke it off, so the parents saw it, with Charlie, she met another Charlie. And they became friends. Come to find out, they were all friends. So they started hanging out and stuff like that. And this new Charlie, he was 20 years old. He was going through his divorce already, and he lost custody of his daughter. So he was trying to get money to actually go to court, and it took $2,000 for him to hire these lawyers and so he can get custody of his daughter. And so she goes right away, oh, my parents are beating me, they're so bad, they're bad people and everything, just same thing as she told the other Charlie. And then she's like, my parents have $2,000 in their safe at home, so if you help me out off them, you can have those $2,000 and you can get your baby girl back. For some reason, I don't know what the boy was thinking, but he was like, oh yeah, such a good idea. Well, it was 4 of them total, that were doing this, okay? So we have the 2 Charlies, someone else, which I honestly can't recall their name, and there's not honestly a lot about this 4th person. I don't know if they took a plea deal or what, and then Erin herself. So the plan was to off her parents on a certain day, right? So everybody piles into the car and they drive to Erin's house, and Erin is at home, and she notices that they're outside, but then they leave. And so she's constantly texting Charlie hey, where you guys going? Come back. You guys are supposed to off my, parents, and I need you guys to come back and get this done. No, it has to be tonight. And they text her back and they're like, well, your dog was outside and it was barking like crazy. So, we just got basically spooked. But they didn't drive too far off. So she's like, no, come back, pick me up, and we'll talk about it. I'll lock up the dog in the closet. Oh, God knows, Lord knows what she said, And so they said, okay. So they came back to the house. They picked her up. She jumped in the car with them. They drove to a cemetery not too far from the house. And they literally, for 2 hours, y'all, and none of them clicked, okay, what am I doing? This is a bad idea. This is horrible. No one had, any other, are you kidding me? But anyways, let's move on. They drove to this cemetery, and they were just chilling in the car, and, Erin's in the car with them, and she turns to them, and she goes, you know what? Maybe just, offing my parents is not enough. Maybe you gotta off my 2 little brothers as well. Because if they know and see your face, they're witnesses, basically. Get rid of them all. And they were her younger brother. She was 17, and these poor souls. And so, and none of them batted an eye. They're like, yeah, good idea, okay, da-da-da. They had a gun. They had a huge samurai sword type thing. Those were their weapons. So they go back to the house, and she had locked up the dog. They barged in the house, and in interviews you hear the dad say that they woke up startled to a big old bang. What the bang was, shots going off. And apparently they off the mom first, and they went upstairs and offed the two little boys, and they shot the dad 11 times. 11 times, y'all. And I'm already going to give you guys the ending because you guys can go and do your own research and hear about others, this story, but from other people. It is amazing that he even survived. Okay, so letting you guys know now, he did survive. 11 shots. He made it out some way because he realized that they were setting the house on fire. After, his whole family was already gone, he needed to get out. There was nothing else he could do for his family except he just wanted to live long enough to let someone know, especially authorities, who was doing this and who did this to his family, right? So he got out of the house from the back, and he even, on his stomach the whole time. It must have took him forever. And he just said he felt like a burning sensation and stabbing. It was all the adrenaline. So he didn't realize what was all going up in his body and stuff. He just knew that he was really weak and badly injured, and that he was most likely not going to make it. And so he is crawling on his belly the whole time. At one point, he even had to jump into the neighbor's pond and go through the pond and almost drowned. But he made it out. He made it to the neighbor's back door and just knocked on the door as he's on the ground. The neighbor opens the door and was like, "Oh my gosh, what happened to you?" And he goes right away, call the cops. It was Charlie. Now, this is a small town, so everybody knew who he was. Everybody knew who these kids were. So because he had to tell the neighbor, because even the neighbor knew who it was. And that way, even if, they didn't know the name, who this kid was, they knew the name to tell the cops, just in case, because as I said, he didn't think he was going to make it. So as they're loading him up, in the ambulance, he's telling the paramedics and stuff, as much as he could, but by this point he was so weak. So they got him down to the hospital, and when the neighbor and the paramedics said, they said it was, Charlie, the cops already knew who he was. He comes from a troubled background, and they knew he was trouble, but they were like, okay, we know who it is. We're going to go to his house. They get to his house. I don't know what he's doing, but they basically bust in there and they tell him, "Hey, get up." And they see that there's bloody clothes right next to him. They haul his butt in and they start questioning him at the, police station. And they're like, once these children got arrested, or at least are being questioned, they literally spilled their guts. They went off and they were like, no. Because let me tell you, before I tell you what they said, I'm going to tell you what happened. When they went to Charlie's house and they told him, "Get your butt up, we have questions for you, there's a police officer that was, looking around the room and saw blonde hair coming out of a chest or something, something you would have in the room, and he thought it was a baby doll or, something like that. So he goes and he pulls the hair up, and it's Erin. And she goes, "Oh, what's going on? Where am I? I was kidnapped and drugged." So for a while, the authorities and everyone is thinking, "Oh, this poor innocent soul, her whole family, is no longer here, and she survived, and da-da-da-da." And then one of the investigators go right away, "Does she smell like smoke? Because if she was up in that house, she's going to smell like smoke." And the officer goes, "No, she does not." And he goes, "Well, she said she was kidnapped and drugged, so give her a drug test and see what comes back." But that does take a while. So by that time, she's with her grandma. When she's with her grandma, she gets the results in front of her grandma that there was no drug in her system. They hauled her butt in. They were like, "No, this ain't right." And so at this point, they're just kind of speculating, but it didn't add up, right? common sense. And so, yeah, the poor dad is in surgery, getting heart surgery and everything like that. Like, they didn't even know if he was going to make it, but he did. And once he got out, the police officers told him that your daughter's okay. And he's like, "Whew, thank God, my daughter, and my poor family's gone. At least my daughter made it." But then, like I said, back to them questioning these kids, these two Charlies, and then the fourth party, they all spilled their guts and been like, "Nope, this was all Aaron's idea," and they're like, "Wait a minute." And so they went into details. They got into her text messages, into Charlie's text messages. They're literally seeing right there that she's saying like, "Oh no, come back and off my family," and stuff like that. So they got, they know what's going on. They ain't stupid. So they pretty much, told the dad, and you could just imagine. I mean, I can't imagine what he must have felt when he found out and realized that his daughter was doing this. Like, why? Like, you're almost 18. Either run away or wait till you're 18 and then you don't have to deal with all these rules and stuff. How are you, like, what? And then for the other people to go along with it. And then her boyfriend Charlie told the authorities that he went along with it because her parents were abusive and he thought he was protecting her. The other Charlie even told the investigators, as if it was normal, "Oh, I needed the $2,000 to get custody of my baby girl back." Yeah. No, dude, you don't need to have a child. You literally offed to children and other people. You do not need, like, are you kidding me? Like, oh my God, but let's move on. Oh my gosh. Ugh, makes me mad. But it's insane. And so anyways, the last that I heard, they were waiting for trial, but they were trying to get like the worst punishment ever for them, and they should, because that is absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. I could not with the story. Like, it was just heartbreaking. And the dad, you can tell in interviews and, updates that you see and hear him, talk about and stuff, like, how, like, no, that is insane. Like, he's, for the longest time after that, he would go to bed with a gun on his chest because he was so afraid. He was so afraid that someone was going to come after him, but at this point he was like, my family's gone, what do I have, like, but he was afraid, so he had, protection with him at all time. He still says to this day that he has it, but it's right next to him. He no longer sleeps with it on his chest. He has it right next to his bed just in case he needs it. He can just, I don't blame him. Like, he, I'm sure, has nightmares up the yin yang, and to be betrayed by your daughter and your whole family is gone. Like, that's just so heartbreaking, Like, I can't even with these stories, But if you guys want, I will leave the links down below in the comments so you guys can check out the articles and other people that talk about it, that are gonna tell better information and stuff that I left out, because like I said, I'm new to this, so I'm just trying to process all the information because it is crazy. And so this was my very first story. I really appreciate you guys clicking the video and even taking the time to watch this. I'm looking at it right now and it's like almost 20 minutes of me telling this story. So I really appreciate you guys sticking with me. And I promise as I go on and tell these stories, I will get better. I'm learning. But just do what you guys can. Keep an eye on each other. Keep each other safe. If you guys see something that ain't right, feel something that ain't right, you guys call the authorities. You guys speak up. You guys protect. There's just certain things that it don't feel right. Never, never, never think twice about speaking up, because you never know. And so I appreciate you guys so much. And thank you for taking the time. And like I said, you know, if you want to see more or you like this video, I'm hoping I did the story justice and that I continue to do so with other stories. But, you know, thank you again. But yeah, isn't that, dude, did you guys hear about this story? Because, and if so, let me know in the comments as well. Like, but also be very kind to everyone, especially in the comments. So yeah, just anything you guys need, let me know. Please like and subscribe. It's a cheap way and free way to help me out. And so I appreciate it. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And I'll see you in the next story.